Pixar is one of the best movie studios of all time, and arguably the best animation studio. So with that comes some incredible characters, and I'm not just talking about Incredibles characters, we'll come back to that later. But what I'm trying to say is that if I asked you to name 20 Pixar characters, you could rattle them off in just as many seconds. I'll prove it to you. Woody, Buzz, Jessie, Bullseye, Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, Edna Mode, Frozone, Finding Nemo, Marlin, Dory, Boo, Sully, Mike, Randall, Mr. Waternose, Mama Coco, Hector, Luca, Ernesto de la Cruz. How many was that? Leave your list in the comments. But as you'll notice from my list, it's not just the main characters that I listed. Pixar has some of the most memorable supporting characters, many of which could have an entire movie dedicated to them. Seriously, who wouldn't want to watch a full-length feature about the adventures of the green little aliens from Toy Story? Now I have to emphasize, more doesn't necessarily equal better. Sometimes this is the wrong impression studios take. For example, let's say the reviews of a movie say that a certain character is amazing and the comedy was hilarious. Often studios will look at this and go, let's add more of that character and more jokes in the next film. But this can then lead to that being the flaws in said sequel. Sometimes the amount of screen time a character has or the amount of comedy there is in a movie is appreciated because it's the exact right amount. Any more can ruin a film. Think of it like eating a delicious pizza from Pizza Planet. 2 slices may be the perfect amount. You've enjoyed the treat and are satisfied. But if you eat 2 whole pizzas, that may leave you with a stomachache. I mean, unless you're a professional eater. What I'm trying to say is that too much of a good thing can be bad. However, having said all of that, if you have the story, anything can work. Pixar took Dory, gave her a movie. People like that. Cars 2 was essentially made as film, and there are people who consider that the best Cars movie. Doug got a short series, and that worked perfectly for the character. So spinning off supporting characters can work. I recently rewatched most of the Pixar movies again, and there are so many characters that could receive their own spin-off. From the Toy Story franchise, there could be a family adventure with the Potato Heads and their alien kids, or a Barbie and Ken spin-off. Maybe they go see the Barbie movie. I think reuniting with an older Boo from Monsters Inc. could be really interesting, or the origins of the Yeti. A romance comedy superhero adventure with Frozone and his wife. There could also be an adventure with a young Ellie from Up, or we could catch up with an older Russell to see what he's doing with his life now. I'd love to see any of the members of Oozma Kappa again. Pixar could make a series of fun shorts for Disney Plus where we see the emotions inside of other characters they have IP for, like the Hulk or any of the Disney princesses. Onward has such an interesting world that you could tell so many stories with so many characters, even original characters that we haven't seen yet. We could have a Finding Nemo spin-off show where each episode is finding a new character. First up, we got Finding Bruce, where we learn how he gave up eating fish. We learn that he wanted to change sea creatures' perception of sharks so they no longer be feared. Maybe he runs for president of sharks to try and enact a law that would see all sharks required to become vegans. Then Bruce's running mates for the election could be Anchor and Chum. Episode 2 is Finding the Tank Crew, focusing on those fish and set it between Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. They go on a wild adventure across the sea in their bags, meeting familiar and new faces along the way. Next up is Finding Squirt, where he falls out of the EAC and needs to find his way back. He goes on a mini adventure trying to get back in the current, but because he was flung so far away, it takes a lot of effort and some help from other sea creatures. At the end, Crush didn't even realize his son was gone. Finding Mr. Ray could be an educational episode where we learn about the sea and creatures within. Finding Darla could be about the kid learning to be a responsible pet owner, treating animals with care. Maybe she wants a puppy but is told that if she can't look after a fish, how can she be trusted with a dog? So Darla has 1 week to prove she can take care of a fish. She takes extra special care of her fish and is eventually responsible enough to have a puppy. Maybe by the end of the week she's more interested in the fish than the dog. Finding Nigel could be about going to different dentists, saving the fish from the tanks and returning them to the ocean. Finding Destiny and Bailey could be about Destiny and Bailey readjusting to ocean life. Finding Gerald could be about the sea lion searching for, testing out and finding an even better rock, making Fluke and Ryder jealous. You could also do Finding Dory. Oh wait, you already did that one. Another spin-off I would also love to see is for the Incredibles character known as
Edna Mode.
Despite having less than 15 minutes of screen time across 2 Incredibles movies, Edna E. Mode was still able to have a significant impact. She's the epitome of small but mighty. I wanted to make a pitch for an Edna Mode spin-off because she has one of the most character-rich backstories of all the supporting Pixar characters. Voiced by The Incredibles director Brad Bird, Edna is a fashion designer with a larger-than-life presence, working as the exclusive designer for superheroes in the Incredibles universe. Edna's design philosophy is centered on functionality and blending style with practicality to create superhero costumes that not only look good, but also enhance their abilities. Her dialogue is sharp and witty, often delivering hilarious one-liners.
No kicks!
She also has a distinctive look, small in structure, oversized glasses, sleek back attire, and bob haircut, not to be confused with Bob Parr's haircut. All of this has made Edna Mode a fan favourite character and made me want to know more about her. So I started thinking, what could an Edna Mode spin-off be about? For whatever reason, I can see Edna as a skillful undercover agent, nimbly moving around through lasers and lowering herself from the ceiling, so a spy adventure was the basis of the idea. I obviously didn't want to neglect her fashion background, but I also wanted to expand on it, go into how and why Edna became the best in the business. We also got a little more of Edna's backstory in Incredibles 2 with the mention of Alexander Galbaki, her rival who designed Elastigirl suit for the movie, so that was something else I wanted to explore. Now with all these features determined, I had a pretty good idea for what an Edna Mode spin-off could be about. So without further ado, here's my pitch for an Incredibles spin-off starring Edna E. Mode.
It will be bold, dramatic,
Yeah.
heroic.
Taking place after the events of Incredibles 2, Edna Mode is at the top of her game. She hasn't just peaked in the market of supersuits, but also broken into other industries, creating spill-proof chef whites, self-cleaning scrubs, and jumpsuits for plumbers that don't absorb odor. Not only that, but all of her designs continue to remain environmentally and vegan friendly with the use of 100% recycled material.
Nice!
Edna is getting more clients turning to her service, angering her rival Alexander Galbaki, the designer of Elastigirl suit in Incredibles 2. Edna and Alexander go way back, first meeting when they were interns for Gucci O Gucci.
It's spelled like Gucky, which can be confusing.
Edna had created the design for the first bamboo-handled bag, but Alexander took the design to Gucci, claiming it as his own, thus starting the rivalry. Alexander is even the real reason why Edna doesn't like capes, because Galbaki wears them. This is actually a thing. Alexander was gonna be in Incredibles 2, so there's concept art of the character wearing a sweater around his neck like a cape. Anyway, the story would involve Edna showcasing a firefighter jacket for the unspoken about heroes. A jacket which is both fireproof and resistant to explosives. However, as Edna is demonstrating this, not only does it catch on fire, but it explodes too. Those are the two things she said it wouldn't do. The fire department is outraged. They've spent millions of dollary dues on this contract only for it to fail. Edna is confused. She knew her design was flawless, but then she turns to see Alexander in the crowd looking all too happy at her failure. The contract is torn up and Edna's reputation begins to fall. She immediately accuses Alexander of tampering with her fashion, but he swears it wasn't him. Edna believes him and retires in disgrace. I'm just kidding, she of course isn't convinced and goes on a heist mission to prove that it was Alexander behind all of this. Edna travels to France where Alexander is located purely so that there can be a joke where she says, "No crepes." I don't know how it could be incorporated into the story. I'd find a way. Maybe something to do with a cafe. It's not important. No, you know what? It is important. Edna is ordering in a cafe. She requests the crepes, but as the waiter is repeating back her order, Bon Voyage is doing a heist in said cafe, which is when Edna says no crepes and evacuates the premise. Okay, back to the story. So Edna does all sorts of investigating and spying, but finally accepts the fact that it couldn't have been Alexander. The evidence just isn't there. But she knows her fireproof jackets were safe. Someone must have tampered with them. So if not Alexander, then who? Wait a minute, who likes bombs? Rocket Raccoon! But he's in a different universe. In the Incredibles universe, it's
Bon Voyage.
Oh, what's that? The whole no crepes joke really did have a purpose after all? I'd like to see AI come up with something that clever. Give it a year. Why would Bon Voyage want to mess with Edna Mode though? I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's to find him. Edna tracks Voyage down and chases after him. To make the situation even more intense, it starts raining, which isn't great for Voyage because his makeup begins to fade, revealing a distinctive mole on his chin. A mole in the same place and size that Alexander Galbaki has. Just to clarify, it's not a mole as in the animal, it's that circle thing that some people have. Anyway, it was Alexander all along.
And I killed Sparky too.
Also, if you look at the facial structures of the two characters, they're very similar. Not that it would matter because Alexander hasn't been on screen before. Anyway, Alexander uses a bomb as a distraction, which Edna is caught in, causing her to pass out. She wakes, tied up in Alexander's fashion factory. It's the opposite of Edna's environmentally friendly facility. We learn that Alexander robs Banks' Bon Voyage because he spent millions trying to uncover the technology Edna uses to make perfect fashion. He's been stealing her clothing and trying to reverse engineer it like the firefighter jacket, but hasn't been able to crack the code. While trying to get the formula out of Edna, she breaks free of Alexander's restraints because, like his fashion, cuts corners, is lazy, and tears easily. They battle each other, taking advantage of the fabric and other materials in the factory to have a creative fight, which Edna eventually wins because Alexander's cape gets caught in a machine. Then guess what she says? Oh right, this is
No capes!
At the end, it's revealed that Edna was retelling her adventure to Elastigirl at a cafe while eating crepes. Helen asks her what her secret is to being the best at fashion, where she reveals everything she makes uses environmentally friendly material, something that Alexander has never considered. This adds more evidence to the fact that he wasn't the one who came up with the first bamboo-handled bag for Gucci. Edna's nickname of E is in reference to the fact that she was the first ever fashion designer to go 100% environmentally friendly. But Edna can't have anyone knowing her secret, so she wipes Elastigirl's mind with one of her cool gadgets. The spin-off uses fun gadgets like her glasses being spy glasses. It makes fun of film noir cliches and spy movies. It has appearances from characters from the Incredibles movies, plus the introduction of new characters, and it showcases Edna's skill as a fashion designer. This concept could work as a movie or a Disney Plus show. Anyway, let me know what time you want me to come in, Pixar, so we can discuss this further. What Pixar character do you want to see a spin-off for?